thing is, they don't actually explain it in a lot of detail either, so let's see what it says here. Okay, I'm going to read per beta off of operating principles. See, operating principles, page 4. I'm reading number 10, part B, right here. Here's the clutch rollers, and further on here, figure 7 is the locking mechanism that I'm talking about right now. See there? Here's the here's what it looks like from the outside. Okay. It's just weird because I'm looking at what you guys are seeing right now, and it's the reverse of what I'm seeing, sort of thing. But anyways, it says here, when the engine turning at slower speed than the ring, the throttle is closed. In other words, if you lift off, the throttle is that plate on the carburetor. If you hit the gas, there's a lot of, the engine sucks a lot, so it opens the throttle. Close of the throttle, you know, it's an idle sort of thing. Yeah, if the throttle is closed, removing the driving force, the rollers release their wedging contact, permitting the roller clutch to overrun. Remember, then this is turning faster than this. Under such conditions, I'm just skipping forward, the ring gear will turn faster than the pinion cage. So this gear will turn faster than this one. Why? Yeah, and then because of the helical cut, that's why. Under such conditions, the ring will turn faster than the pinion cage, and the sun gear will turn slower than the latter, than the pinion cage. In fact, the sun gear may turn forward, stand still, or turn backward, depending solely upon the relative speeds of the transmission main shaft and the output shaft. So that's what I'm saying here, right? Depending on the speed of this, it's trying to go forward or backward. Now, by locking it through the control plate, you limit that movement to, now, overdrive, number 11, it's going to say here. If the sun gear is held against rotation, in other words, the solenoid is engaged and the control plate is locked, then the pinion cage and the engine will revolve through only 0.7 turn for each turn of the output shaft. They actually call it propeller shaft. Propeller shaft is just a dumb name for the output shaft. Propeller, it's like a boat, fucking boat. Just cross it out and put output shaft instead. Instead of propeller, put the output, the word output. Wall 20% turn. Saying that if we lock this in, it's going to hold. It's going to hold it in overdrive, which we let go has a tendency. Yeah, in this way, the dash control is not pushed in. I mean, if it is pushed in, and it tends to automatically, the centripetal force tends to automatically leave the transmission in manual. Push it back, and you activate the solenoid. It prevents this from moving. Let's go on and read what it says here. So we have the car driven with the dash control pushed in. Once again, they don't say it here, but dash control pushed in is that the overdrive is enabled. The plate will revolve along with the sun gear at the speed of the transmission main shaft. Yeah, that, I mean, we're still in manual mode though. Then it says, under such circumstances, the blocker ring, is that horn-shaped ring that I was talking about, is rotated into position so that it doesn't let the pawl move in. Otherwise, we would have that disaster. All right. So yeah, when this is, I can see it anyways. See, when this is in, you can't put it in manual, and you can only, therefore you can only leave it in overdrive. So when the solenoid pushes the piston in, engages the overdrive. Without the manual transmission, you can no longer manually change the transmission. I mean, you can manually change transmission on the manual side, you know, but it's always going through the overdrive. As you see, I'm shifting here. You can still shift. There's nothing impeding you from shifting here. Put it in first gear. But the difference is the pinions here, they're turning, thereby, which means force is going through here, which is the overdrive. So this is all, as long as the solenoid is in, all you have is overdrive mode. Complete overdrive mode. Not the overdrive and manual. Now let's see. Now, when the car reaches a predetermined speed, which is about 20 to 32 miles per hour, about 40 kilometers an hour, according to car make and model, the governor contacts close, which energizes the solenoid. Oh yeah, and the solenoid, by the way, it's got a spring force, so it's not like if it's not going in, it's like that. It's like forcing the electromagnet. It's a spring, so you can leave it on even though it's not going forward. It's just pushing it forward, pressurizing to go forward. Okay, that's really important. Yeah, and then you just, I'm not going to read the rest because it just says there word per word, but that's the idea. Lock this in, it's not able to go anymore. Like I said, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate this manually here because it does require high speed. So I'm thinking that for the rest of this video, I'm just going to put everything back together. I'm sorry guys, I must admit these last videos, they were a little bit crappy. I was just sort of mumbling away and sort of basically talking to myself. But okay, so what I'm going to do is leave it here. Let's start the reassembly. Now, in order to put these gears, how am I going to hold them in place? You have to use really heavy grease. The manual actually says that, so I'm going to do that. clean surface. I'm just going to use my finger, dab a bunch of grease in there. So put it in manual mode so it's a little harder to spin. Let me start from the bottom because then you can see if it's going to work or not. Let's see if it'll work. Yeah, it does work. So I'm just going to remove it or leave it. Just going to turn the whole shaft and just put a bunch of grease on everything. It's just to hold the, it's the only way you can hold the those cylinders in position. I don't know if maybe you'd have to clean this later on. But actually on the overdrive side it doesn't matter. Now sorry, I'm talking to myself. I was thinking that maybe this grease would have like components that would harm the brass synchromesh gears on the other side. The manual, however, doesn't say that you have to clean it out, to clean out the grease, I mean, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal, though. It'll be diluted with the oil anyways, so. First gear. Heavier greases than this, by the way. Just be careful with this shifter because, you know, like I said, there's a lot of play here. So if it's like this, you see that, look, you see it'll go back, but it won't go back all the way because it's actually crooked. Just make sure it slides in there, that shift collar, nicely, and that it's parallel, okay? It's not sticking out like this. Last one, that's it. Okay, let's see if this will go in. Another thing that I'm not sure is that this gear here, the big one, this larger one, it's actually, you see you can't move it, but this one, you see it'll turn freely. And the smaller one is for the governor here. So it's really, I'm thinking it's just going to turn with frictional force. Yeah, okay, yeah, that really makes sense. This one is for the speedometer. Now this gear, it has to turn freely because, remember, it's really easy to turn the speedometer gear here. Remember, just a little bit of velocity was enough to turn those points. And we don't want that. We only want those points to open at high speeds of 32 or like over 40 kilometers an hour. Now, so what will happen is the shaft here will have to turn really fast in order to cause this gear here to only move a little bit. Obviously, if we have no oil, then it won't turn at all. But as long as it has some friction in there, it'll turn this gear, but only at high speeds. At low speeds, it's only turning, and the shaft is turning, but the gear is stationary. But at really high speeds, friction is enough to cause it to move, enough to open the points on the governor there. I think now we can put this in gently, starting with the bottom part. I think we have to sort of twist it, I imagine. Fell out, but I think we might just have to twist it through the outside so that they go to where they're supposed to go. Okay, I have to twist it towards me. One of them fell out. There we go. That's another reason for that bevel there. So it allows, remember I told you guys there was like a bevel, lower portion inside here. It wasn't just straight. It would actually be higher where the bearings are. That bigger diameter in here allows me to put the gear here in while the bearings are on their highest point. Then once we have that, I just have to push it in and sort of twist it to get them to get smaller. Remember to go down into their lowest point. Now that we have that there, we can put the control shift lever into the. Oh yeah, I still haven't discussed this. But what this does is it stays at the end here of the shift lever here, the shift rail. And apparently its normal point is not exactly sure what it does yet. Apparently it's supposed to push the okay, maybe it's not, it's the other way around. I'm thinking that when the shift rail is moved to manual, it closes the contact points here, which I believe close the contact points in the ignition or something like that. So I don't think this switch controls the shift rail. I don't think it moves the shift rail. Yeah, no, because in order to move the shift rail, you have to have a big electromagnet here. It's just a switch. This is just a switch. Because the other way around. The shift rail turns this switch on and off. Okay, I haven't read this in the manual, by the way, but see, it's just able to deduce these things. This was some sort of electromagnet that would push this in. You know, you'd actually have to have. You know, it would have to have be bigger to fit the windings in. You'd have to have more terminals, but this is just a little switch. That's all it is. So now what I can do is I'm just gonna change the position of the camera here. There's a lot of garbage here in this garage. Fuck. I'm going to put some oil on the shift lever. Okay, there's the spring that goes here, I believe. Just check. I sort of forgot where this spring goes. It's reducible, but I just tractor spring. Yeah, the spring goes here. Put some oil on it. This first oil, guys, is going to get really dirty. Just have to change it out later. This one goes here. This guy goes... I have to undo this bolt here. On the Rambler American, there's slightly different. There's a slight difference in the case. It actually has like a part here. The case is actually bigger here on the end, so that you can put bolts here on sort of like a protective sleeve sort of thing. You can see on the manual, but here it doesn't matter. Let me just look at the drive shaft to see. Or not the drive shaft, the housing here. The rubber is in good condition, by the way. Everything's still very dirty, but really dirty. But the oil will remove that dirt. And then you just wash it. Maybe give it another wash. I missed a big spot there. Fine as long as there aren't any, big chunks of rock or metal. Surface rust. I mean, it'll wear out faster if you drive it for, I don't know, a million kilometers. So it's a negligible difference. If you have some big chunks, then yeah, I mean you could. These things are pretty indestructible. So put the shift lever in through the inside. Can't get it through the outside. And it's circular, so it doesn't matter which position you put it in. Apparently. That's why I wanted to put some oil, because actually see here on the case where the shift rail goes. God damn it. It's really a pain in the ass. I need to find myself a nice hot bitch. I mean a photographer. Don't drop the house. Poor guys. might actually have. I can't put the housing there. Just trying to figure out how the hell. How in the hell are we going to put the shift lever onto this